Hi, I'm Nan Arkwright. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I work with kids on individual sessions as well as in social skills groups. And I've written a series of books about Seymour, who's learning a lot about emotional regulation and social skills. And the books are based on the types of situations that I see with the kids I'm working with because they are hard things to learn how to do. And this particular book is about reading social cues. And what I see with so many of the kids I work with is that they are sometimes actually knowing what the social cues are and seeing them, but not paying attention to them because they're so focused on what they have in their mind that they can't think about two things at once. What other kids' messages are to them, and also think about what they want to do and how to modulate that a little bit so that they can uh, both groups, the child and the other child or the other group, can both have fun because they understand how to do that. So the book that I've written that we'll talk about today is intended to help kids learn that it's important to be able to notice what is going on around you, personal space, rules, those kinds of things, while also still monitoring yourself and adapting as you need to in order to be able to make sure that everyone is sharing space and having fun together. So sometimes what also can happen is that kids get super excited about an activity and then they forget all the rules and all the boundaries. And so that's another challenge that I often see with kids. So this book is a little bit similar to that also, just the idea that taking in all that's going on around you and monitoring your own behavior can be really a challenge for kids. So I'll share my screen to show about the story. This one is called Mindful Seymour Pauses, Noticing Social Cues. If you haven't looked at my other videos, there are 6 other ones about Seymour that I have done videos on and guest speakers to help talk a little bit more from other people's perspectives about what's going on in the stories. So on this page, Seymour and his sister Turkessa are at school. He's just learning about going to school and what the rules are. And his sister is kind of filling in for his mom, helping him know because she's a little older and understands more of the social cues. And so she's kind of watching out for him because she understands that he might be a little impulsive or a little bit unaware of things because he's not gone through this before. So she's just there to try to help him. So he's seeing these frigate birds. The reason the frigate birds are in there and the blue-footed boobies is because a couple of years ago I went to the Galapagos Islands off of Ecuador, and I really liked learning about the birds there and other wildlife. And so I thought I would just incorporate them into the story. And it also is a way to teach kids about something that maybe they're not heard of before or that they might be interested in exploring a little bit more. It's also a way for adults to engage a child in a conversation about, in addition to the story itself, just sort of an offshoot of something that might be interesting to do together. So Seymour is really excited about pretending to fly like the frigate birds. He's not noticing at all what's going on around him. There's a dodgeball game going on, but he's in the middle of the court. This is something I've seen. I've worked in the schools also, and I've seen kids do this, and they just are not aware. And the reaction for the kids who are playing the game, who have the court, is that they don't like that and they don't understand it. And so on one hand, the kids who are playing the game don't understand why someone's cutting through their game and not understanding. But then also when the kids playing the game don't like it because someone's cutting through their game, the in this case, Seymour doesn't understand what the problem is. So it's difficult on both sides. And so that's again one of the reasons for writing the story, is to try to help kids understand that sometimes people just don't know, and we can be forgiving toward them and show some grace and help them learn about it so that the next time it won't happen again, because now they understand. So a lot of the times kids I'm working with don't take in the big picture. They don't see, oh, there's a game going on. They see the frigatebirds. And that narrow vision is what they're paying attention to. And so then in this case, Seymour gets very surprised because in the next page, his sister's running after him to sort of in anticipation of what the problem is going to be. And he's just not knowing anything about the game. He's not understanding how the rules work. And so she pulls out some goggles and says, these are future vision goggles. This is what will happen if you continue to run across the court like that. Let me give you some help. Take a look through these goggles. It's going to help you be able to see a bigger picture than you're seeing right now, which is just the frigatebirds, because that's what's important to him. So he sees in the goggles that all these birds are playing a game, and then he's now is finding out what happens when he's not paying attention to what's going on around him. One of the birds bumps into him and he says, be careful. So this is again where a misunderstanding can happen, like, why are you bumping into me? But then of course the bird in the blue also is thinking, but why are you on my court? So it's a misunderstanding all the way around. And it then he gets hit in the head with a ball, and he doesn't understand how that happened too. And because he's not seeing the bigger picture, he takes it as somebody throwing a ball at him, which is also something that often happens with the kids I work with. They assume that somebody's actually trying to be mean to them, and instead of really being able to stop and think for a second, wait, maybe there's a reason why that's happening. Maybe they actually aren't trying to be mean to me, but it can be really hard for a grown-up in the moment to be there to help a child learn, actually, this is what's going on. So again, one of the reasons I've written the books is to try to help kids know that sometimes sometimes, maybe some kids are trying to be mean, unfortunately, but usually that's not the case. And here's what actually could go on if you had a video camera and you could replay it. That's kind of what the purpose of this future vision goggles is. Here's what you would see. And oh, that's what happened. Sometimes I can catch that video with kids, or I can catch a picture of it. And then all I have to do is show them the picture and they know exactly what I'm talking about. But it means pausing, slowing things down, understanding what went on. It's not, the kids are fine with trying to do it differently. They can adapt to it if they know what to do. So that's again why it can be so helpful if a grown-up can be there to help in those situations like this. But it's also very hard for a teacher at school or parents at a playground to be able to be in there that moment and be available to help a child understand. So the next picture shows him kind of talking to his sister saying, but I didn't know that would happen. And she's saying, well, yeah, I know, of course, you would never do anything that's intentionally that people wouldn't like, but let me show you what you could do instead. So he's all about being able to learn from the situation. So she's asking him to look for clues. So first of all, he's not noticing there are lines on the ground. And if you're not familiar with a game, you don't even know what the lines are for. So I can understand why he might not pay attention to that, but that's a cue for him to be noticing. And then he's also not noticing some of the other cues, like the some of the birds are actually being kind of nice to him, saying, well, maybe he doesn't know. He looks kind of distracted. Maybe we could help him. But some of the birds also are kind of looking a little unsure of what's going on also. So he's noticing that what the other birds are actually doing is paying attention to the ball game. They're not paying attention to him. That's not like there's boundaries there to say this is where we play this game. If you're not part of the game, please stay out of these lines because we're going to be paying attention to the ball. That's our game that we're playing right now. And so he's not noticing all the other things that happened. But he does realize when he has this chance to use the future vision goggles that the reason why birds bumped into him, the reason why the ball bumped him in the head. And so she says, well, would you like to learn a little bit more? And so he says, of course. So he's starting to understand, oh, there's some rules to the game. I didn't even know. The balls are supposed to be flying around the court. When I got hit in the head, I didn't know that was what was really happening. So I did think that they were trying to be mean to me, but now I see it's not their fault. It's actually just a mistake. And the birds are actually trying to be nice, like, I hope he's okay. And so they even stopped the game to kind of check on him. So finally he realizes, oh, I'm paying so much attention to the birds flying by and pretending to be one of them as well, that no wonder all these things happen because I was in their space. I wasn't being careful of their body. He's actually taking responsibility because he now understands. And so he can realize, oh, if I stay out of the boundaries, these things won't happen. And I won't be getting bumped and I won't be getting hit by the ball. And there won't be these problems happening. So he's learning from it. He's learning, oh, the birds were responding to my being in their space and they were doing the best they could, but I was actually in their space. So he's learning, I made a mistake and I can learn from that mistake and do something different. So his sister pushes the button on the goggles, the switch from sort of oh, this is causing problems. But this is how you solve the problem. So he's switching modes, and now he's really seeing in slow motion. If I keep track of the birds running around on the dodgeball court, and I won't be in their space, but I also won't get hurt. So if I focus on keeping myself away from the court, even though I still have my eye on those birds, then things are going to go better and it'll be easier for everyone to play what they like to play and everyone can have fun. So he's learning, oh, I have to watch what I'm doing and I also have to watch what others are doing and where they are in space, what the boundaries are. Pay attention to if they're telling me to be careful or you're in our way or something like that, paying attention to what they're saying to him. Tone of voice, some might be nice to him, some might be less so. And so what did the different tones of voice mean to him? Is he picking up on those kinds of things also when he was in their space? So he's realizing, oh, I can do something different. And so Turquesa, his sister, says, well, I wear this badge to help me remember, but she's thinking she's probably got that skill down now. She can offer it to him to use as a hands-on reminder when I'm doing something that's super fun that I really, really like, and that is hard for me to that's keeping me very engaged, then I need to also have a reminder about thinking of others, space, and paying attention to the boundaries and all of the social cues. And so he's got this little reminder that says, pause, notice you, notice me, watch for cues. So now he's going to be able to see a picture of himself looking into the future, imagining himself being that bird who is watching what's going on up in the sky and what's going on down on the ground. So he's balancing what's going on in his imagination, pretending to be a frigate bird flying, with the reality of what's actually going on the playground in real life. So the birds end the game and they come over and talk to him and say, like, what's up with those goggles? They're pretty cool. It also gives him, Seymour, a chance to follow up because they were pretty kind to him when he didn't understand. So he's trying to reciprocate and say, oh, are you okay? And they're very forgiving and gracious. And so they're giving him feedback like, we're fine. And so they're trying to also make friends with him. And some of the birds are giving him a little advice, like, well, you can imagine later, because when you're thinking about real life, it's super fun to share ideas and play games and even do imaginary play with others. So they're trying to suggest that maybe playing the frigate bird game when there's nobody else to play with might be super fun. And also, don't forget, it's also super fun to play with other birds and do things that are sharing imagination and ideas and having fun with others when they're around and available to play with. And another little bird is saying, yeah, it's a cool way to connect with friends. So they're teaching him that these are the ways to play with other kids that make it fun for everyone. So he's learning about that. And then at the very end, they say, cool, would you like to play a game with us on our next turn? Because they see it was all unintentional. So again, the benefit of the story is that the birds are modeling for the reader, like, it when kids understand, when things slow down, when somebody explains, then it's easier to join in because everyone understands more about what the rules are and what the boundaries are, what the social cues are, and then it makes it fun for everyone. So he's super happy about being invited. And then he's remembering, like, oh, when I didn't really know and I was so frustrated, I kicked the ball out of the court. I won't do that again because I know now what more than I did when I kicked the ball out earlier in the story, and I know how to focus on the game. So if I'm going to play the game, I'm going to focus on the game, not on the birds. If I want to focus on the birds, then I'll get out of the game and pretend with the birds. Maybe I could even find a friend from the game that wants to do that with me. So his sister's reminding him, giving him high five. Yep, yep. Notice you, notice me, Seymour. Keep that in mind. It's going to help you. And then everyone likes how the play goes together with everyone. So I'll stop sharing. And so I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Seymour and the social skills that he learned. And one of the purposes of the books is truly to help other kids who have practiced their social skills a little bit more and understand that they actually can be helpful to the kids who don't know all of these things, and that they are probably just not aware. And so everyone can help everyone else. The kids who know more about how to notice me, notice you, can help the ones who know less, and the ones who know less can learn from them. And also, they're modeling for Seymour. Oh, this is how you connect with other kids. So it's a great collaborative effort. And it's also something that is just a way that everyone can play in an inclusive way. So I hope that you enjoyed and that you will be able to talk in more depth about the book when you read it with the child in your life, and use it as a springboard for conversation. And also be sure to watch the next video where my guest and I will talk about some of the extra supplemental materials that I prepared that go along with the story. Some of the materials are games and activities for kids to play. and some of the materials are for the adults working with the child to help build the skills. And so it takes there are things that you can post in your kitchen, whatever, to help keep in mind for yourself ways that you can support your child in learning these kinds of skills. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.